our Learning Department hosts bi-weekly Thursday Indigenous Insights. And welcome to today. April 18th is the 1-year anniversary that this beautiful museum announced to the general public that the first People's Gallery is free. So if you haven't been to the Royal Ontario Museum lately, always feel welcome in the First People's Gallery. I'd like to the Mississauga of the Credit, Anishinaabe Nation, Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat for allowing us to gather on this ancestral land. My name is Jeanette Aakwayakshit. I'm the Indigenous Outreach and Learning Coordinator here at the Royal Ontario Museum. So we are going to talk with Jenny Blackbird in a moment, and she's going to share some generous teachings and knowledge about tobacco ties and what that means, and some of the one of four sacred medicines that we see people in this region and many parts of the country activate. And we also want to take time to encourage young people between the ages of 18 and 29 to apply for Indigenous internship positions. So I'll talk more about that later. But for the moment, let's take a moment to hear from Jenny Blackbird, one of our Indigenous Knowledge Resource teachers, and learn about the tradition of tobacco ties and the four sacred medicines. Welcome, Jenny.
Hi, Tamse ni Totamek ni Jenny Blackbird, Kaken Tawian, Kino Kamase Ochi Kihuan Cree Nation of Alberta, Nikawi Ochi Helsinki, Finland. So I had to read this off my phone because I'm still not fluent in Nehiyaw language, Nehiyaweewin. So my name is Jenny Blackbird. My father was from Kihuan Cree Nation, Alberta, and my mother is from Finland. So I acknowledge that I have settler ancestry and also Indigenous ancestry, but I'm not exactly from this territory. So I'm very grateful to the nations that have always lived here, and to my relatives and my friends and all of the people out there in Facebook land. So I brought some of our beautiful medicines here, and we're mostly going to talk about the tobacco because it was in 2017 the Royal Anishinaabe Art and Power exhibit from June till November. So that was co-curated by Arnie Brownstone, Saul Williams, and Al Corbiere. And so it was a beautiful opportunity for people from the Indigenous community who live in Toronto to be part of that as Indigenous docents. So we were all given this great opportunity to go in and share our information and also learn from each other, because not all of us are from the same nation or the same family. And the inclusion of the tobacco offering box was really beautiful because there were people who wanted to acknowledge all of the sacred ancestors that are in the gallery. So we had a great experience in teaching other people that what tobacco is used for. So I'm just going to say right now, please forgive me if I omit anything or if I get anything incorrect. I'm only human, so I'm trying to the best of my ability to remember all of the teachings that I have and to share what may be appropriate. So there are things that I may not be able to share, but I'm going to go with what we have. So this is a traditional tobacco, and many Indigenous people work with this tobacco, and we work with it for giving thanks, we work with it for prayer, we work with it for intention, and we work with it for ceremony. So oftentimes we will get it in this loose form. It would be grown and dried, like harvested and dried, and then we have this beautiful tobacco. This has no chemicals, it had no preservatives, those things that are put in commercial tobacco, like lighter fluid or whatever. So I brought an example of what your commercial pipe tobacco looks like. So that looks a little bit different. So it's a little darker and it's got kind of a cherry smell. So this is for your pipe. Some indigenous people who do carry prayer pipes will accept this for that ceremony. But generally, if you are in the position to either grow your own or trade for it, this is really great tobacco to offer to Indigenous people, elders, teachers, knowledge keepers, and it's all about intention. So when that tobacco offering box was put into the gallery, it was brought to the First People's Gallery from the Anishinaabe Art and Power, because since the gallery is open and we want people to come in and we want people to engage and to also have the presence of Indigenous knowledge resource teachers. So there's myself, there's Jesse, there's Graham, there's Doe, and there's Leslie. So we are in the gallery Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we're there to answer questions or help with any personal stories, or maybe some things that we can share about what's in the gallery. So the intention sometimes is great. Every morning I go into the gallery, I bring my own tobacco, and I put it in there, and I talk to everyone that's in there, and I say thank you, and I hope that I can do the best I can. And then that tobacco is in the box, and anyone can come and put the tobacco in. I've heard some beautiful stories of one of the Indigenous knowledge resource teachers offering tobacco to the guests, and they put their own beautiful prayer into it, and they held on to it, and they put it in the box. And then at the end of the month, that tobacco is put in a nice bag that was made by yours truly, and then one of the Indigenous knowledge resource teachers takes that to the Native Canadian Centre of Toronto. They have a sacred fire, and it is burned in that fire, because that's the best way to take care of it, and all of the nice prayers and all the nice thoughts go up to where they're supposed to go. And sometimes people put these little tobacco ties in there too. So it can be loose tobacco, or it can be a little tobacco tie. So I've brought you the ingredients of what that tobacco tie may look like. There are certain colors. I know that a lot of Anishinaabe people use red. Nehiyaw may use blue. And
it's often natural fabrics as opposed to synthetic.
Yeah, so cotton. So we simply put a pinch of tobacco in there. I'm not going to do that right now, and then we tie it up. So let's say I had to ask Jeanette a favor, or I had to ask for advice, and I would say, hey, can you help me? If you accept, because not everybody has all the answers, if you accept, I would have it in my left hand, because that's my hard hand, and I would give it to you, and you would say sure, or you maybe be like, I don't know if I'm the one to help you. So never take offense if there are people who go seek advice. If an elder or knowledge keeper or somebody in the community can't help you, it's not personal. So it's about also that person who's being offered the tobacco knowing what their own boundaries are and what their knowledge systems are. So if somebody asked me about something really big and I couldn't help them,
like hunting season, something that was not your knowledge.
Yeah, base. And I don't want to pretend that I know something, because I don't want you to get the worst advice possible. So, and I also brought other beautiful medicines here that many of us work with. There's 2 different types of sage. So there's a soft sage, and this is more of a hard sage. And we often burn these sometimes in an abalone shell, or sometimes people use a cast iron pan, the mini pans, or even a rock. Sometimes people just use a flat rock, and we light them with a flame, and we draw the smoke over our bodies, over our minds, over our hearts, our ears, our mouth. So we speak good words, we hear good things, we see good things. Oftentimes people will take their glasses off or their jewelry. And sweetgrass is one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful medicine, and this is also lit on fire and burned. And the teaching that I have is it represents kindness. And kindness is what a lot of us need all over the world. So it'd be nice if we had a big great sweetgrass braid to sweep everywhere. And then there's cedar, which makes a beautiful tea, which also has lots of vitamins in it. And this may also be burned when it's a little drier, and that helps to release negativity.
Truly.
Yeah, so sometimes we put it in our shoes too.
When I first moved to Toronto, coming from the West Coast, I was looking for cedar for one of my water ceremonies, and I kept looking up for cedar trees. And I remember some young people were with me, and this one young guy said, "Oh, there's cedar out there. There's a lot of it." I went, "What are you talking about? I've walked the block." And he went, "I'll go with you." And we went outside, and it was a cedar hedge. So living here now, I have to learn to look for cedar hedges. And one of the things that stood out for me about the Anishinaabe Art and Power exhibition, one of the reasons we ended up with a tobacco offering bowl was because we were finding tufts of tobacco on the floor.
Oh.
And so out of the response to the community, and the community making their own, giving thanks in their own way, we respected their because Indigenous people might not ask, they would just do. right? And so people took responsibility for their own relationship to the objects on display and modeled for us we needed something. So out of that, we created the offering bowl that Jenny described, gets emptied in a good way every month, last Thursday of the month for the Sacred Fire. And for the sweetgrass, I'm not sure what learning you've learned, but I learned from the Medeoan, humble little bit that I know, because I'm also from away, is that the braid represents braiding and balancing your relationship with the past, present, and the future. And oftentimes, folks with long hair will have a meditation of their own to start the day in a good way with that in mind. Or some might have also had a Christian influence that people might feel they're balancing the mind, the body, and the spirit, but symbolically, that's a little bit that I know about braids.
Yeah, oftentimes when I braid my hair, I really think about my ancestors, and I think about all of our relatives that had their hair cut in residential school, all of those that never had that opportunity to celebrate and actually just do the things they've always done because the Indian Act made all of this illegal. Yeah. So I often think of those children and those parents and those families, and then I think of the generations that are here and the generations to come. So
yes.
I'm hoping that there'll be much more love rather than the nasty things.
What's beautiful about bringing up the tobacco ties is that this time last year, we actually engaged ROM staff and management and people in the building to help us make tobacco ties when we announced the First Peoples Gallery was free. And then more recently, we made 500 tobacco ties as a gift offering to the Canadian Museum Association conference participants who were in the city this past week. And part of it is that one of the things I understand about Indigenous culture is that our economy is defined by a gift barter system. So our wealth is really measured by how much we give away, not how much we accumulate in the way capitalism does. But when it comes to giving, like we had ROM staff make these tobacco ties with us, I'm just wondering if we could have a conversation about how meaningful is it for our mainstream Canadians, our neighbors that are now making Canada their home on the ancestral lands of Indigenous peoples. Why is it important that we talk to them about ceremonies like tobacco in a public way?
I think so that people can understand what it is, because oftentimes people will come into the gallery and look in the offering box and kind of wonder what's in there, and I want to make sure that they understand what it is and what the medicine is and what it means to a lot of Indigenous people. Not everyone works with tobacco, so you may not see certain people with the tobacco ties, but it's also good for them to know what they are, because if I'm holding this and I'm going into a space where either I need help or I know I'm going to have a hard time, I want somebody to understand this is helping me. So it's something that helps. It's medicine. It's a really good thing, and oftentimes people will exchange them, we'll give them, and I want to make sure people know that it's not a bad thing. And also, if they work with people who do accept tobacco, the best ways to put it together. So don't put it together hastily. Don't put it together when you're in a bad mood. Don't put it together when you're just like, oh, I have to do this. Think about, all right, what is it that you really need to do this for? So I wouldn't want somebody to make one just cause. Yeah. I'd want them to really think about it. And we offer that in the gallery as well, in the First Peoples Gallery. And some people are like, no, it's okay, I don't want to make one, and that's totally fine. And then other people are fascinated, and then they take all this time to make it, and they put it in the box. And I think what a great way for them to experience a different way of energy and communication.
Truly.
Right?
I heard that it's a symbolic connection to the spirit world. And I heard an elder back home where I come from, Dave Frank, from Ahousaht, and one of the things he said is that ritual makes our prayers physical. I like to say gratitude. Some people get a little triggered by the word prayer because of their experience in residential school, but it's about being thankful and showing your gratitude. And so it is a ceremony. It is symbolic. It's not meant for consumption. We're not expecting people we're not handing out rolling papers and teaching people how to roll cigarettes. That's not what this is for, just to dispel any myths or worries that young people may come into the gallery and have access to tobacco for consumption. That's not what this is about. This is about showing gratitude in our workplace and showing respect for the ancestral objects that are full of living spirit in our galleries. Is there anything else you might want to say about?
I think that might be it for now. So if you want to come, I'm in the gallery till 2 o'clock today, so this is Thursday, right? So come visit me. The gallery is free to everyone, so you can come hang out and just see the tobacco up close.
Excellent. Thanks, Jenny. So we're very excited that today, April 18th, 2019, is the 1-year anniversary of the first People's Gallery, the Daphne Cockwell Gallery, dedicated to First Nations art and culture, is open free to the public year-round. So if you haven't visited the ROM lately, please come and meet with our Indigenous Knowledge Resource teachers. We do have 6 of them. 1 is coming back on maternity leave. But the bigger part of that is that they are in our galleries Monday to Friday from 10 till 2, and each one represents different nations. We're not all one good-looking group of people, is something I often remind folks. We represent 3 oceans in this beautiful homeland that we all now call Canada, and those 3 oceans are within that landmass. There's no less than 65 distinct nations from coast to coast to coast. So get to know your Indigenous neighbors, and if you haven't been to the museum lately, please come and visit. And if there are any young people out there in the GTA that are looking for a 1-year full-time paid internship experience, it's a training experience at the ROM. We have 3 positions, and we'll post up the job posting or the internship postings as part of our broadcast. If you have any questions about today, please feel welcome to send them in, and we'll be glad to answer them. The bigger part of that is if there are any young people that might be interested in a training experience here at the ROM. We have 3 internships this year. 1 is our internship that we name in the memory of our fallen warrior, Kiowa Wind Macomb, and we call it the Kiowa Wind Memorial Indigenous Youth Internship. And that young person would work directly with me, do a lot of work like this, help activate and show leadership with our ROM Youth Council, engage with our Indigenous Advisory Circle, do a lot of interaction with the public, and learn a lot about public speaking. I think we do a lot of work in this position where we repeat ourselves a lot. The bigger part of that is the other position that's super exciting is our Indigenous Digital Learning Internship. And that particular internship is for any young people, Indigenous young people out there that are tech savvy, that love technology, that love video games, because we've got an innovative project called Hack the ROM, and young people often know a little bit more about technology than some of us older people, including myself. So we really love having that young tech savvy energy as part of our team. So Indigenous Digital Learning Internship will be supervised by Sarah Chu. So if you're interested, be sure to send your application to Sarah. And a whole brand new internship this year that's being supervised by Claire Watts in our hands-on biodiversity gallery is an Indigenous gallery assistant. And that is one of our busiest sections of the museum. If you've ever been to the Bat Cave, it's that whole area. It's always bustling with people. And what's exciting about the Indigenous Gallery Assistant is it's a really unique opportunity for us to incorporate Indigenous knowledge, traditional or ecological knowledge, with the science realm. So we can show a lot of really important connections between the way Indigenous people value the notion of Hishuk Ish Tsawak, we are all one, and how interrelated and interdependent we are on, in the same way that we might learn in science about like the food chain. If something impacts higher up on the food chain, only in time humans are going to be impacted by that. So looking at how Indigenous ecological knowledge can be expressed in the hands-on biodiversity gallery. So if you know someone that might have an interest in sharing their traditional knowledge about land-based living, please encourage them to apply to Claire Watts for the Indigenous Gallery Assistant position. Thanks for tuning in to the bi-weekly, every second Thursday broadcast of Indigenous Insights. Ushakshi Kleyets, thank you to Jenny Blackbird, hi, for coming out today. There are many different ways to say thank you, and we're always forever grateful for our viewing audience. Please feel welcome to tell your teacher friends to have their classrooms tune in and learn a little bit more about Indigenous living cultures from bona fide Indigenous educators here at the Royal Ontario Museum. See you in 2 weeks for the next Indigenous Insights. In the meantime, please come help celebrate Indigenous living cultures by visiting the First Peoples Gallery for free here at the Royal Ontario Museum.